Have you ever heard that Napoleon Bonaparte, the great conqueror, was defeated by rabbits? It sounds like a joke, but it happened. And it wasn't just one or two. It was hundreds. This is the story of the day one of the most powerful men in Europe was defeated by furry, harmless animals. It all started after one of his many victories. Napoleon wanted to celebrate. And, as was customary among nobles, he decided to organize a hunt. Not just any hunt. He wanted something special. He ordered hundreds of rabbits to be gathered for a grand private event. His team, obedient as ever, got to work. They looked for suppliers, farmers, whatever was needed. Soon, the designated hunting ground was filled with more than 300 rabbits, all locked in cages, waiting for the big moment. Napoleon arrived with his team. Officers, nobles, aides. Everything was ready. The cages were to be opened, and the rabbits would run across the field. The men would chase them, shoot, laugh. An elite party redolent of gunpowder and wine. But then the unexpected happened. Instead of fleeing, the rabbits ran, but toward Napoleon. And not just one. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Jumping, pushing, chasing the hunters as if they were enemies on a battlefield. At first, everyone laughed. Who's afraid of a rabbit? But when they didn't stop, when they kept coming, when the field filled with bouncing ears and furry bodies, panic began to grow. This wasn't normal. It was an attack. Napoleon tried to scare them off with his cane. Others used their hats, rifles, and even shouted. But the rabbits kept advancing. They surrounded the men, jumped on their legs, and bit their clothes. It was as if they had gone mad. The scene became ridiculous. An emperor, a hero of Europe, running through the countryside while dozens of rabbits chased him. Some say the officers threw their weapons to the ground. Others say they climbed into carriages to escape. Napoleon was forced to retreat. Literally. He had to climb into his carriage and flee. The rabbits, like an army, followed him until the vehicle picked up speed and left that furry plague behind. It was a disaster. But also a comedy. What had gone wrong? Why did the rabbits, who normally flee, attack the humans? The answer lies in the event's preparation. The organizers didn't bring wild rabbits. They bought domesticated ones. And that changed everything. Farm rabbits aren't afraid of humans. They associate them with food. So when the cages were opened, the animals didn't flee. They ran toward their keepers. They expected carrots, not gunshots. But instinct was stronger. They pounced. Imagine Napoleon, accustomed to defeating armies, being overtaken by a misunderstanding. He expected a recreational hunt, and instead experienced a stampede of rabbits who didn't know they were at war. It wasn't a battle, it was a failed picnic. This event doesn't appear in all history books, but it was recounted by several witnesses, military officers, chroniclers, and some diplomats. Over time, it became one of the most curious anecdotes of the French Empire. Napoleon didn't comment much on the matter. He wasn't a man who took kindly to mockery. But some say he never asked for another such hunt. And from then on, rabbits were no longer invited to his celebrations. This story shows more than just a funny anecdote. It speaks to the power of the unexpected. How even the grandest plans can fail due to small details. And how even an emperor can be defeated by harmless creatures. The image of Napoleon fleeing from an army of rabbits is as powerful as his military campaigns, because it reveals that even great men can fall. Not always to strong enemies, but to surprise, to nature, or to their own pride. The irony is that Napoleon, who reorganized Europe, who defeated entire coalitions, couldn't win a simple hunt. Sometimes, history has more sense of humor than we do. And that makes it all the more fascinating. And you? What would you have done if hundreds of rabbits were chasing you across an open field? Probably the same as Napoleon. Run. Because sometimes, no matter how much glory you've won, a furry army can be your most memorable fall. What seems like a bar joke was a recorded event. And while it didn't change the course of history, it does remind us that even in the days of glory, absurd moments can arise. And those, though brief, are never forgotten. After that day, the officers told the story in low voices. Some with embarrassment, others with laughter. But they all agreed on one thing: they had never seen anything like it. An imperial hunt turned into a mass escape by a horde of long-eared creatures. Over time, the story transformed. Some exaggerated, others omitted details. But the essence remained: Napoleon was attacked by rabbits. And he didn't win. The emperor who subdued half of Europe couldn't cope with a logistical error. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson: that power doesn't save you from ridicule. That a simple oversight can put even the greatest in jeopardy. And that, in the end, we all have our day with rabbits. Even Napoleon Bonaparte. No one knows for sure how many rabbits there were. Some say hundreds. Others, more than 1,000. What we do know is that the event was etched in the memories of those who lived through it. And it survived the passage of time as a hidden gem of history. Today, this story is told as a curious anecdote. But if we look at it closely, it has all the elements of a great lesson: pride, misunderstandings, chaos, and an unexpected ending. Like every good chapter in human history. And yes, the rabbits were the heroes. Not out of bravery, but out of instinct. They didn't know they were facing Napoleon. They were just running for food. But, unwittingly, they achieved what few others could, making the emperor flee. The day Napoleon was attacked by rabbits is more than just an oddity. It's a story worth telling, not for its power, but for its absurdity. Because sometimes, the smallest things leave the biggest mark. If you enjoyed this anecdotal story about Napoleon Bonaparte, please like, subscribe, and comment. See you in the next video.